Before we begin this episode of Living Indie Grind, if there are topics that you want me to talk about in future episodes, let me know in my brand new Discord. Also, I'm taking theme song submissions. Also, wishlist Stolen Hearts on Steam.
This is not a podcast, this is a theme song.
How do you do? It's Mr. Moo. How you doing? This is the second episode of Living Indie Grind, because if you're trying to make the game, you gotta be living indie grind. So today I got a special guest, as always. It is TheShelfman. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, of course. I'm TheShelfman. I am a 22-year-old Dutch human being. I make video games and I make videos about the video games that I make, but usually in a very weird, but in my eyes, funny way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have a very unique style, and I definitely want to get into that. But why don't you first tell us about the projects that you're working on?
Okay, so I have a problem with wanting to make a lot of projects, but my main project right now is a game called Ikarus, which is basically how I describe it most of the time, Stardew Valley in space. So it's much bigger than that, but basically you're on an unknown planet with a bunch of people, and you need to make sure that it's livable for more people to come join you on that planet, and you can explore, you can mine, craft, machine stuff, and interact with other humans and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's looking great. If you check out his channel, you'll definitely see a lot of devlogs surrounding Ikarus. And how long have you been working on the game for?
It's been a little like on and off, but the idea came to me like a year ago, and then I started working on it, and then I was like, yeah, I don't like it, and I stopped. But I think around July maybe of 2020, I started actually working on it, and then 1 week a lot, 1 week not at all, so kind of on and off that way. But yeah, sort of July, I think.
Nice. And when you're working on or how often do you do game dev stuff? I guess like hours per week, or days per month, or I don't know any other way you want to cut that up.
Right. No, I work on it a lot. I work on a lot of little projects as well. I like doing game dev. I like doing game jams. I don't know if you do any game jams as well, but like I started enjoying them recently, and it's really fun. So I do them. I work on video game dev almost every day. So.
And what percentage of that time? I love game jams as well, but I think, it definitely is distracting from other projects that you have going on.
Right.
So what percentage of time would you say that you're working on Ikarus versus game jams or other projects?
At the moment, Ikarus is on the side a little tiny bit, but I try to pull it back. But at the moment, I work more on some other little projects. But Ikarus, I try to work on it almost like every day, but it becomes sort of like, okay, try to do something at least this week,
Right.
Try to get something done. Like I made a new crafting system. That I liked the crafting system that I had, but I realized that you need to know every single bit about the game to be able to use the crafting system, like you do in Terraria, for example. And it just didn't feel right. You want to be able to make a machine from, I don't know, that requires this and this machine, but you don't even know it exists. So how are you going to figure out what you need, right? So yeah. I thought I'd make a new crafting system, and I was happy that I could do that last week, for example.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, because when I'm making my own game, I find myself in a similar situation where I add something to the game, and I think it's too easy, or I think it's going to be too obvious, like for new puzzles and things like that, because for me it's obvious. But that's also because I understand the mechanic in its entirety and exactly how it works and how the levels are designed and all of that. So it's interesting that it's like, for me it's puzzles, for you it's crafting, like other people it might be something else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. Designing puzzles is so difficult. You're like, okay, I can see the solution, but in reality, like, do other people see it too?
But that's
And
kind of the
that,
point, right? You want to strike that balance between giving away the solution and making this like I'd like to describe making puzzles like you take a solved Rubik's cube and then you mix it up in a particular way, and then to solve it you just have to do the opposite again. So like, it's just like, it's like a sequence of events, and
right. Yeah,
but
no, I can see that.
yeah. So what's going on in Icarus? Is there a puzzle element in Icarus as well?
Not at the moment. It's a little idea in the back of my mind where so I want to make a big deal out of exploration. There's certain areas. I don't know if you've played Monster Hunter
No.
or if you've heard of it. Okay, well, it's a game in which you usually try to hunt a monster in a certain area, but they could be in like 8 or 9 of a certain landscape, 8 or 9 areas of a certain landscape. And with Icarus, I was thinking, okay, you have certain areas as well with maybe some monsters, but maybe there's also a puzzle that you need to do to learn more about what was actually in those areas. What were there people there? What kind of animals? I don't know what you want to call it. Was there ever like some type of alien there? I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
So like a kind of puzzle to give you more of the lore of the world. I was thinking that would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
what is your planned vision for this game, like in terms of how far are you along in terms of completing it? When do you think it's going to be released, and what platforms and all of that?
I feel like I'm struggling to get to a point that I'm like saying, okay, I've got the basic game loop. I'm not even there yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like with my current speed, I could take a few more years to be like, yeah, okay, this is it.
All right, so
But
it's we're still very early.
very early. Yeah, I need to push myself to actually put more effort into it, even though I feel like I'm already putting a lot of effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it could take could take a while, but I'm mostly thinking for PC. I think that making it porting it to other consoles or whatever could be quite the hassle.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
Yeah, and that has its own barriers to entry, right? I think they used to say that Switch was like after Steam, Switch was the next easiest to get onto, but I'm not even sure that's true anymore because I think indies have a lot harder time getting their games on Switch. And then if you want to say something like Xbox or PS4 or something like that, I guess PS5 now.
True.
I think though the barrier to entry is even higher. I think their standards are even higher.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
It's insane. You don't see a lot of like small indie games on those platforms now.
yeah, yeah. You only the really big ones, I would say.
Yeah.
Although I can't really say I'm just like perusing the PS5 store these days, but
Me neither. No.
that's cool. So what kind of what are these other projects that you're working on, and like why is that more appealing to you these days?
So I'm
just my light is very bright in my eyes here. And I'm looking a little yellow as well.
Right.
Hopefully that'll help.
I'm working on a game called Oops Overload, which was originally a game jam game, and I got a lot of positive feedback. And I figured maybe I should try expanding on it a little bit. And now, of course, you get that feeling of, oh, I really want to add this and I really want to add that, and you just can't stop,
Yeah.
So, but people really seem to enjoy it, and I was thinking of maybe actually releasing it maybe on Steam or whatever.
Okay, so so it seems like Icarus is going to be this long-term thing that you're going to be working on for multiple years, but you're hoping that Oops Overload is going to be like a Like, what's the timeline on that one?
I'm hoping if everything works out and the other things I'm working on aren't what you call it aren't being problematic and causing me to put it away for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to have it done in a few months, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, yes, I had a similar experience. So I had been working on this game, Stolen Hearts, wishlist on Steam, for like 2 years now, and that was my first true introduction to Unity and like indie dev and like trying
Right.
to pursue this. And in between then, like I'm still working on it very actively now, but in between then I've also like created this small game and have been distracted by these small projects the same way. And I'm definitely glad that I did, because the things I've learned from these small projects I was able to bring to the main project
Right.
that I'm working on now. Have you
Yeah.
seen some similar things?
Definitely, I feel that. So as I said, I worked on Icarus last year, and I worked on it a few months, and then I realized, okay, this isn't working. I'm quitting. In the meantime, I've worked on several mechanics, right? And I love working on just ideas that eventually just not turn into anything. But that way I learn a lot of little mechanics and that I can later use again on Icarus. For example, crafting or an efficient and simple inventory system. I made it really long and complex, and then after practicing some stuff, I realized, oh, maybe I should use this and that, and
Yeah.
it just really helps out in the long run, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Like certain components that you can just like literally like copy and paste
Yes.
into your project.
Gotta love that.
And not only that, but also, so for me, one big thing was I had never released any game on Steam, and so I had created a game jam game that I thought was a lot of fun, and it was a multiplayer game, and I worked on it like for 2 months to polish it up and to release on Steam. And then I learned about the Steam release process, which I'm really glad that my first game wasn't this like 2-year, 3-year game that I'm working on, because I would have certainly screwed it up, and I still might, but now I have a little more context going into that.
Right. You're a little
So-
more prepared.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's definitely, I think, a big plus about having these small projects.
Makes sense. Preparing you for the big ones.
Yeah. And I know, so this is not the first time that we've actually talked. The first time that we've talked was because you had remade Among Us,
Yep.
and I had made a mod for that remade game. So do you want to give us a little bit of a backstory on that?
Sure. So I think it was like October, November of 2020. Among Us was slowly dropping in relevance, right? And I was being approached to make a mod for Among Us. I'm like, I don't know how to make mods. Come on. And then a few months later, this guy came to me again. He was like, how much do you know about game dev in general? And I was like, well, Unity, I'm pretty comfortable with Unity. How would you feel about remaking the entire Among Us game? And I thought, you're crazy, but sure, for a certain amount of money. And I felt like I got scammed at first, but in the end, it all went okay. And the game was tough to make. It was my first time actually doing anything with networking properly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was scary. But hey, it sort of works.
Yeah, I mean that was it's pretty interesting project, because yeah, networking is its own beast, and that wasn't my first time working with networking, but it was my second time working with networking.
Right.
And also it definitely required a lot more, server client relation, like interaction than my previous experience. But yeah, so I mean, I was approached by the same person, and then I had made the mod on your project,
Right.
and then that mod was used by like one of the most massive YouTubers
Yeah, I saw that.
And that was, that was cool. You know, it was a cool experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it was just another one of these side projects. But it's also an interesting thing, right? Because we had made some money doing game dev, but we didn't make like a full game. You know, we were just making, little components for people to use for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And I think
pretty much.
that is, I'm wondering about what other avenues game devs can take to make money doing game dev. That's not just like, I have this project that I am going to make, and once I complete it, people are going to buy it, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I could imagine that something similar happens in big companies. Like, okay, we need someone that knows a lot about this specific component, and we need them to work on that for us, and then goodbye. So I feel like that would make sense if that really happened. But I don't know, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely, like being an employee for some company to temporarily work there. But then there's
Right.
also like this like freelance work that I think a lot of game devs are starting to get into, right? Like there's Fiverr, for example,
Yeah.
or making templates or doing classes for people about game dev.
You see a lot of those nowadays. A lot of people trying to sell their classes.
Yeah. Have you ever bought a class?
Never. No. I mean, not for game dev. But I did one for After Effects. I never opened it. I just now realized. I did buy it though. But no, for game dev, I started watching YouTube tutorials for Unity. A lot of brackies, of course.
Yeah.
And as you get to things, he hasn't looked into, you start to find other people that could maybe help you. But I've never actually bought a course or whatever. I've never even thought of buying a course.
Yeah. And I think the lore, there might be game dev people out there just trying to make a living and selling their courses. So I apologize for the next thing I'm about to say.
Oh god.
But I don't think it's really ever necessary. I think people are afraid that they don't know what they're doing, and so they think that, like, let's just get a course because that'll teach me everything I need to know. Like an all-encompassed, packaged way that at the end of this course, I'll be able to make whatever game I want to make. Right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't work like that.
Definitely not. That's what kept me from buying a course, I think, because I feel like if you know how to Google properly, you'll be able to make whatever it is that you want to make.
Yeah, and that's the key word there is properly, right? I mean,
Yes.
the job of a software engineer or like anyone, or an indie dev is like being able to say the right words into Google, and then your answer is going to appear in front of you.
Yeah.
Because there's so many free resources. I mean, brackies alone. Like if you just sat down and said, okay, I'm going to commit myself to actually understanding what brackies is saying and what the code actually means, because he does a great job of explaining it. But if you're just like looking to get whatever it is done in your project, then you may not pay attention to the details too much. But if you just like paid attention to that, like you will know so many things. He has a video on virtually every aspect of
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So it was definitely, yeah. I mean, he's really the GOAT in that respect.
I'm so sad he left.
I know.
But I hope he's doing what he wants.
And that's kind of, he has set this precedent, right? That like you can leave while you're on top.
Yes.
He's like the Michael Jordan of game dev. He's gonna come back and win 3 more rings.
Can't wait for that day.
So your YouTube channel, I see that there's a lot of, you talk about these other projects, but you're also quite technically adventurous, right? I see that you go with some VR elements, right? You've made videos integrating with VR. You've made some videos with like drones, right?
Right.
And what was that? Also, like they were like, what was with the drones? There was like drones and something else.
I made it voice controlled.
Oh, voice control. That's right.
Yeah.
So is that stuff that you do because you think it'll get views, or is that stuff that you do because you're just generally interested in, like in general?
Well, how I usually. I mean, I'm really interested in technical things. Like my drone is over here. That's why I'm looking at there. I knew that you could code with the drone, for example, and I'm like, oh, that could make for something fun. And then when I'm working on it, or when I'm working on an idea, I go, okay, could this be fun for a video as well? And that's how things progress, maybe, and then with for example, I did the mobile VR game. I have this mobile VR headset I don't know what to do with, and I thought, okay, maybe I can make a fun little game with it. And then I made, as a joke, I made the Counter-Strike, but it's mobile VR, and people really enjoyed that. And I thought, what can I do with that now? And I didn't want to do it for myself, but I thought this time I'll do it for YouTube. And then I made Minecraft for mobile VR, which was a complete disaster, but that's okay. But yeah, no, I just get random ideas, and sometimes it's just because I'm curious, and sometimes it's because I think, hey, this people could like this maybe.
And have you ever taken these experiments like that one extra step, and
What
like
do you mean?
and actually try to make like a full game out of it, or spent some significant time on it?
Usually, when I'm focused on, let's say, that Counter Strike kind of game, I get lost in it, and I work on it for days nonstop. And then once I start to realize what I'm doing, I kind of just stop. So I never get to that point where I take the extra step, because I realize, thankfully, soon enough that, hey, maybe you should be doing something else, because nobody's going to care about that little extra thing.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
stuff that you put in your videos. I mean, speaking generally, it's there are things that you put in your videos that people care about a lot, and that you don't realize that they would care about, and then there are things that they don't care about at all that you were hoping people were going to pick up on.
Yes, for sure. That was for, at first, the whole thing with my drone. Once I made it voice controlled, at first people for some reason didn't believe me. They were like, okay, so where's the person with the controller at? And that bothered me. But I mean, I knew it wasn't the case. Anyway, I just, some things with the drone that I did was like, okay, this is a really cool concept, but people didn't care too much about it. That's it's just it's sad, but that's just how the internet works.
Yeah, you just never know. You never know what's going to be popular,
Yeah,
and
unless you're Mr. Beast, I suppose.
oh my gosh, that guy. I mean, I guess if you're just giving away millions of dollars, what people are going to watch it.
Yeah, you're always gonna be okay.
Yeah. So what kind of? I mean, you've been in the YouTube game a long time, and it was only kind of recently that you've turned your channel into like a pretty exclusively game dev channel.
Well, you've checked out my older stuff?
I was, I do the research. All right,
Oh no!
I go all the way back. All right. I was I was perusing around. And I saw that you. I mean, when did you get into game dev?
I think 2015 ish.
Okay.
So a friend was in class, and he had to make something with Python, and I randomly walked by that class and I saw him, and he wanted to show it to me, and I had no idea what Python was. I had no idea what programming was, and he showed it to me that he made this text-based game, and I was like, this is sick. I want to do this. And then next year I did the same class, and I learned basic Python, and then I was like, okay, what can I do? What else is there? Because in my head, 16-year-old who doesn't really care was like, Python is not that amazing. Let's just look into game stuff. And then I went to Game Maker, and then slowly to Unity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when did you like kick it up? You said, I'm gonna pursue this more.
Um.
Or was it during this whole time that you were just learning about it?
I wanted to learn about it. That's what I said before. I got addicted to making mechanics for games, and thinking, hey, this could make for a fun game, and not actually making it into a game in the end, because you get interested in other ideas or whatever. But last year, when I came up with the idea for Icarus, I was like, I need to actually try this time and actually make video games. I need to take it more seriously. And that's why I started making the videos as well, so people could hold me accountable. Yeah.
And how is that? Have you enjoyed making game dev videos more than like your previous videos that you were making?
I love it so much more. It's so much fun. I always enjoy what I'm doing, and I switch when I think I could enjoy something even more. So before game dev, I was doing more videos where I was still talking to the camera, but I was talking about filmmaking because I really love filmmaking. And I wanted to tell people certain things, certain tips or whatever, or certain thoughts I had about filmmaking. And it was much, much different. And then I came up with this idea for Icarus then, and then I stopped working on it. I made this video called I Made a Stardew Valley Clone and I Hate It. And I combined my game dev stuff with the filmmaking that I had learned over the many years. And people really loved the video, and people told me, hey, what are you doing? Make this game. And I thought maybe I don't want to make the game yet, but maybe I should keep making videos about games in the same way. And people seem to enjoy it. So, hey, good choice.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's I think it's nice that you kind of the people were so supportive of you to make that game, and that's how you got into it rather than the opposite, which I think, like, for me, I was already really into to making games, and I'm just trying to get people interested into the games that I'm making. Whereas, like, for you, it was the opposite. Like, people were interested in you, saw this video that you made, and said, "Oh, this would be a great game. You should go and make it."
Right. Yeah. It was my first introduction to the whole game dev community as well. All those people that were like, "Okay, but please make this game." Yeah. I had no idea what these people were like. I didn't know that so many people watch the first devlog. That always happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really cool introduction to the game dev community.
Yeah, I was kind of introduced later than, like, I was already doing game dev a lot for someone that, had never done it before. I was doing it for about like a year and a half of like pretty intense, working on it every day, like at least an hour, maybe 2 hours, before I ever even, like, I knew the big people because I used to get the tutorials, right? Brackies. Right. And then I saw people like Thomas Brush or Jonas Tyroller. And then I was like, oh, there are people that are here. And then you see all the comments, and then you see all the devlog 0/1s down the line. And I was like, oh, what is this? What is this? And then I was like, oh, maybe this is a space that I should be getting into for people to actually be interested. Because I was one of these people that was already kind of interested in indie dev, kind of dip my toes in. And then I saw the movie Indie Games. And I was like, oh, easy. I'll make a game, make $1 million. It's right down the line. It's going to be so easy. Everyone's going to buy it. But then it turns out, it's a lot different than that.
Yeah, unfortunately, not how it works.
Yeah, but I was on one of your videos, and I saw that Jonas has made a comment on at least one of the videos. That's really cool because I love Jonas. And I would say that obviously you're you and Jonas is Jonas, and like everyone's got their own style and has their own sort of way to make videos. But your editing style first is very good, but it's very elaborate, and it's different than Jonas, but it's also has a similar flavor to the way that he makes his videos. So would you like to provide some insight on the way that you make your videos?
Sure. So first of all, like Jonas's videos are great. They're amazing. When I first started making the game dev videos, actually, so I made that one video about Ikarus then, and then I started watching Danny.
Mm,
I first got introduced to Danny, and I was like, "Huh, this is really cool! Wow!" And then I thought maybe I can do something similar, but I hate now that I look at it. When other people do it, they really try to copy him, and I don't like that. I just
yeah.
try to take an inspiration, like okay, what works for him, what doesn't, and what can I take learn from that. And as you watch more people, you try to do that with them as well. And Jonas is an example as well. Like how does he structure his videos? And I know that I do not make tips and tricks videos or whatever on game dev like he sometimes does. Um, but what can I take from his videos that could help me? And when I make my videos, I make as many people do. I just screen record every single thing that I do when
Mm,
I make the game, and then I try to write a script, uh, and for like a few pages, and try to put stupid jokes in there and make fun of what I do or the people playing. I don't know. I just try to make it a funny, entertaining video rather than hey, look what I made. Here's a line of code that I did. It's this does that, and I don't like seeing that, so I don't make it.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I try to make a video that I would want to see myself,
Yeah.
and that means fast-paced jokes, but trying not to be too distracting from the fact that I made an actual game. And it's hard sometimes because you sometimes lose track of what you want to do. But in the end, I feel like usually I get the point across that I try to get across. So
Yeah. And that is such a hard balance, right? And I think you do
yes,
that really, really well. Where it's like you're like I'm talking to you now, and I just had a conversation with Toheed, right? I don't know if you've ever seen his videos, but he does.
yeah,
Yeah, he's really funny, and he has his own style, right? And we were talking about how being genuine in front of the camera is like important because people are going to appreciate that, and people are going to watch the video for watching you rather than like the content, or
yeah,
a mixture of both. But the issue with that is, okay, you gotta be yourself. You gotta make something entertaining. You have to deliver all the technical accomplishments that you've just done for your game, and don't copy anybody else because people are gonna not appreciate that.
yeah.
And like that's a really tall order, but I think you do a great job of doing that. Now, when you're making your scripts, like your videos, there's tons of different skits, like small skits in there, and like jokes that are coupled with these like edits, right?
Right.
Do you when you write the script, are you incorporating all that during the writing, or is it something that just like happens? It's like, oh, I said it funny in this particular moment, so this is a moment that I'm going to capitalize on.
Sometimes I think about it while I'm writing it. I think, okay, this needs to be a little bit more interesting. How can I spice it up? Can I add a funny joke to it, or can I say this in a funny way, or whatever? And sometimes as I'm editing it, I think, huh, maybe I could do this with that moment, or maybe I should take this out and replace that with a funny joke or something with my green screen or whatever. You
Yeah.
know, it just yeah, usually while editing, I come up with the stupidest things. So
that's that for me. I sit right here, right where I'm sitting right now. I have a written script, and I deliver the script. I will put things on the screen if like one there's something wrong with the video, right? That like I don't know, I doing something particularly stupid, or there's like a jump cut that like it doesn't really work, so I'll just put something in front, or there's like a bunch of jump cuts just to make the audio work, or whatever.
yeah,
And then at the end of that, it takes me like a ton of time. Like I got to work on this multiple days for it to be like 8 to 10 hours just to get this 6-minute video where I'm sitting here with, maybe there's a couple of weird gags where there's like a weird edit that goes on, or like I add something to the video. But I mean, your videos are highly edited, right? They're very crisp edits that are also doing a lot of effects and things like that. And also, I mean, the script is also much more elaborate, right? I mean, it goes back to these jokes, it goes back to the skits that you're doing. I mean, and you're in different locations as well. It's not like you're just sitting in front of the same spot. Sometimes you're like outside. I don't know. You're doing different things.
I mean, I pretend that I'm outside usually. I'm not actually going outside. People don't go outside these days.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, I usually I spend like a week, if I can, working on a project, and then I spend a weekend writing a script if I haven't written the script during that week as well, and then I spend a week editing the video. And it annoys me that it takes so long, because I'm also sort of lazy when it comes to that, and I'm like, it'll be up Sunday, I got this, and I'll take it very slowly. But also the edits usually take a long time, and yeah, it's a little too much sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of time. That's like you're talking about like a full weekend of work just to write the script, and then it's the whole week. And that's kind of crazy, right? Because
It really is.
if you're a YouTuber, right, you're a popular YouTuber, and you're like someone that's, I don't know, like let's say Mr. Beast. I mean, Mr. Beast is a bad example, but someone that just sits in front of the camera and people like to come to their videos and, watch the entertainment, right? Or like Davey 504. Do you know Davey?
I know. Is that the music guy?
Yeah, he plays the bass, and he's always saying,
Right.
yeah, he's the Italian guy.
I haven't seen much of him, but I know that he exists. Let's put it that way.
I would say, yeah, his videos are him in front of the camera, and he plays the bass, and he's a talented bassist, but 90% of the time he's not even touching a bass. Like, he's just making jokes and things like that, and it's like a highly edited video. And he gets tons of views, and that's why he's really popular, right? Because he's funny and he's making these good videos, and then he puts it out regularly. But for us, right, I mean, some people might say I'm a YouTuber before I'm an indie dev. But for me, I think I'm an indie dev. That's what I'm really passionate about, and I like making YouTube videos. But if it's going to take me a week to make the videos that are going to be popular, is that worth it?
I mean, I can see that. I see a lot of people in the game dev community that make devlogs that definitely put their game on one, and YouTube second or third even, maybe. And I've had this obsession with YouTube since like 2008. I love creating videos, and I just can't see myself spending a day maybe on getting a video done,
Mm-hmm.
I've done that before, and then when I look back at those videos, I'm like, what was I doing? I could have done so much better. I love making videos, and that's the reason some of my game projects are delayed in a way, I guess, that I just don't work on them because I'm so focused on getting this video done, because I really love doing YouTube,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I could see that. Like, I could see that's like, you put out content. Like, how often would you say you put out content?
Every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, so that's pretty often, when to make a video costs you a week of time.
Yeah.
So
Pretty much.
so there's a clear passion, and it's also clear that you're getting better in your editing. Like each video is like stepping it up, right?
Yeah.
And so that's clear that you're headed in that direction. I think like Danny is also. I mean, Danny's got his own project, right? He's got Carlson, but Danny, I mean, his videos are super elaborate as well.
Yes.
Like,
it's
really
crazy
elaborate.
to see it. I love whenever I'm editing and I just don't know what I'm doing, I'm like, I don't have any inspiration for how to make this more interesting. I sometimes go back to one of his videos, like, how, what does he do? How does he make it so entertaining and so exciting? And I suddenly get that motivation, inspiration, like, okay, I got this. I can make this fun, you know?
Yeah,
And sometimes you need that. And I think Danny is a great example of how you make such um, no, fast-paced and entertaining videos.
yeah. But then you also find him. I mean, he's got Carlson, but then you find him making like I think most of his content. I would say is has nothing to do with Carlson, right? It's like
Yeah,
other aspects of game dev, like that primarily exist, probably right, just to get him views.
yeah, no,
And it's like,
definitely.
yeah, it's like balancing this YouTuber indie dev, prioritization. Um, and it's
What I think he
interesting to
does.
yeah. Go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead. You were still talking.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see the people that are on top that are like have this differ in this way, right? Whereas like Jonas, I really like, right? Makes these really entertaining videos, and he does do some things that are outside of, his main game. But Will You Snail, right? His main project it's is his focus, right? That's his
Definitely.
right. That is what he's promoting, and that is, I think, why he's making videos.
Yeah. And you can clearly see that too with his stuff. He doesn't upload too often because he's seriously focused full time on making Will You Snail,
Yeah,
and that's really cool to see that his videos do so well and that they're so good and fun, while he's actually focusing on making the game and finishing it. So
yeah,
it's
for
really cool.
sure.
Yeah, I think what Danny, for example, does well is these trends, like how he made the Fall Guys clone or the Among
Yeah,
Us
yeah,
3D. He is so fast in figuring out, okay, I need to work on this now because it's still relevant now.
yeah.
And I'm always a few months late on that stuff.
I know
Um,
it's
it's
hard to
hard.
it's hard not to be, you know.
Yeah, it's I really respect the people that are able to make a video that fast when that concept is still trending.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, right? Like Danny's motivations are like at this point, I'm going to assume that that's his full time job, right? Is just to make these videos.
Yeah,
So you can't really. I mean, it's easier for him to stay on top of that when it's like his main focus, I would say. But
fair.
uh,
No.
yeah, but what kind of so you've been making these videos for a long time, and now you've gotten into to game dev. Starting when did you say like a year
About
ago
a year
or
ago. Yeah, I
yeah?
think it was February 2020, something like that.
So the difference between the stuff about Ikarus versus this other stuff with the drones or um, the VR. What type of success have you seen between the two? Like what type of video has gotten the most views for you?
People tend to care more about game dev as you make more game dev stuff. So like I made this bot, right, that curses for me because I don't curse. And I thought, hey, that could be a funny idea. And people just didn't care because even though it was a funny video, now the views have gone up significantly, but it was doing very bad because people just wanted to see game dev stuff, right?
Right.
And the same thing with the drone video. The drone video was one of my worst performing videos for such a long time because people just wanted to see game dev stuff. While a voice controlled drone, I think is sick. It's one of the coolest things I've ever made. But people were just like, probably like, I just wanted to see more about Icarus or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And that sucks because I like doing such things, and I already told myself, okay, well, don't do those types of videos anymore. But then you really enjoy making them, and suddenly people enjoy watching them. Like the drone video is now among one of my most popular videos. While my videos struggle to get like 200 views sometimes, or just a little over 200, and the drone video is reaching for 400 now. And you know, that's what you're getting. Like, okay, when am I doing it right? When am I doing it wrong? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess maybe like a video like that will survive longer in like the search or the eye catching, right? Like I think
Right.
people that are your subscribers might like the newest devlog, but like a year from now, that drone video is still going to be relevant and still going to be kind of like a cool video.
Yeah,
So
it's a
maybe so
good
maybe that's
video
it.
for that. Yeah, a good video for the homepage or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, that's I kind of have an opposite experience where the videos like I can't get people to watch my devlogs, and actually I'm about to spill my beans a little bit
Oh
and say
god.
that for one of my videos, my like I when I first made my devlogs, I was already like a year and a half into the game, and I just did a devlog for the thing I was working on for that week. It was like my homepage. It was like my level select screen or something like that. But I never made a video that introduced what the game actually was. And so I had made other previous devlogs that talked about it a little bit, but never actually described it. So I made a video that described it, and it was like my devlog 0/1
Right, right.
that I had never made. But and the people that were already subscribed to me, which was like less than 50 at that time, they liked it and they're like, oh, this is cool. And I got some new subscribers, but I was like, I'm gonna put this out there. So what did I do? I ran an ad.
Oh no.
I'll tell you now, it was not. I mean, don't run an ad for something like this,
No.
because I got a lot more views. I mean, obviously, I got a lot more views because that's what I was paying for. And a lot of people liked it. I got a lot of new subscribers relatively, right? So for that
Right.
week that I ran my ad, I got like 30 subscribers. I had never gotten 30 subscribers in a row like that. Like I get like, I think the most I ever got in a single week was like 5. I got 30 subscribers in this week and a ton of views and a lot of likes on my video. There were some dislikes, but it was fine. It didn't really bother me too much. But then when I started making more content, people like those subscribers did not really translate to views. I mean, maybe it did, but it didn't. No one. These weren't people that were commenting and coming back. And it's like, it's interesting that like the quality of the subscribers is also like how a person subscribes is almost just as important as getting the views in the first place. So
Yeah.
so that was my experience with that.
I can see that. I feel like I do that too when I watch a video and I'm like, okay, do I want to subscribe to this person? Yeah, I'm interested in what this game is, so yeah, sure, I'll subscribe. But if I'm like that, then I'm probably not gonna watch many more videos of them. When I'm watching, I was watching this video recently. I think his name is Simon Dev. He made an MMORPG in JavaScript, and I thought it was genius, and it was like a 15 or 20-minute video, and I watched it all the way through, and I'm like, I need to see every video this guy makes. That's
Yeah.
the two types of subscription.
Yeah.
So no, I definitely feel that.
Yeah, because I think like the people that subscribed, they were like, "Oh, this is a cool game," but they weren't game dev people, right? And if you're not a game dev person, you're not gonna like devlogs, and you're not gonna like
No.
whatever, right? I mean, maybe you'll get a couple of converts, but for the most part. But then there are people like Danny, right? Danny has millions, like 2.5 million subscribers or whatever.
Right.
Those aren't all game dev people.
No,
You know?
definitely not. I think it's the inside jokes and the way of editing that really got him
Yeah.
all those viewers as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's like really funny. His content is really entertaining, even if
Yeah.
because it's also his stuff is not super technical either, right? There's hardly any technical stuff, I would say. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I need to take a better look at his videos. But for the most part, it's like for oh, I made Fall Guys, had nothing to do with Unity, had nothing to do with how he did things. It's like just what he did, and he described what he did in a very entertaining way.
Right. And when he does go a bit more technical, he kind of glances over it, like, hey, okay, I did this, okay, and then bam, next thing, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very simple and fast. So because a lot of people won't care. I don't know if you watch Michael Reeves.
No.
Oh man, that is he's genius. He makes the stupidest robots, and it's hilarious. And whenever he explains the code that he wrote for it, he actually announces it basically, and he goes, "I know that you guys don't care, but I don't care about you, so I'm going to explain it now." And it's just great. It's really fun. So there's people like that as well.
Yeah, a little bit of self-awareness, I think, goes a long way. And
Yeah.
like just by acknowledging it, people are gonna like let you off the hook.
Yeah, definitely. It's how you bring it, really.
So who do you like to watch besides? I mean, we talked about Jonas plenty. I mean, I talked about Jonas last time. I'll talk about it next time. I'll talk about until he comes on the show. Jonas, come on.
Come on, Jonas, you need to be here. I watch so many different YouTubers. It's crazy. And well, game dev wise, it's then. I mean, you've already named them mostly, like Jonas, Danny, Thomas Brush every now and then, Blackthorn Prod, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and then I watch a ton of other YouTubers that have nothing to do with game dev as well.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what I said, Michael Reeves. I don't know if you know Mark Rober.
Yeah. Mark Rober's great.
Mark Rober is fantastic. And then stuff that has to do with visual effects or films overall.
Corridor Crew.
Corridor Crew. There you go. Corridor
Nice.
Crew is great. Yeah.
Do you
no,
have you ventured into 3D? I mean, that's tangent to like VFX is tangent to game dev, I would say.
I have tried it multiple times, but I am so bad at modeling. It's keeping me from making anything 3D. So I made this game jam game called Thinker last year for the GMTK game jam with my friend, and we wanted to make a 3D game. And thankfully, he knows how to model. For every little project idea that we have, we work together, and he does the art side of things, whether it's sprites or models. He does that, and I do all the coding. So that's what happened for this game jam as well. But instead of leaving it after a few days, we actually finished it. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's the only time I actually made something sort of complete. That's 3D. But I like messing around with 3D stuff myself, like for visual effects stuff, because visual effects is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So like for you were talking about how you like After Effects, right? You had been doing visual effects in the past. Have you? I mean, you've done some stuff in your videos that it's like clear through the editing, but do you have longer term projects with that as well, or is that kind of like I'm gonna use that to spice up my videos?
Well, I like making films besides making video games, and usually those films require some type of visual effect, and whether it's like an explosion or whatever that I need to build from the base up, or just simply just painting someone out of an image or a video. That's kind of visual effects stuff, and it all surely helps with my videos, but I feel like what I do in my videos actually helps me out with the film stuff more than the other way around.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense because that's more. It's kind of like what we were talking about before, right? With like you have your main project and then you have all these like side games that you're making.
Yeah.
Like you have the movie that you're making, like the film, and then all these videos that you can do your little experiments on.
Exactly that. Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. No,
Nice.
I was doing this thing with a buddy of mine where we made a short film every month. and that was super stressful, but we learned a lot from it. So that
Mm.
was, yeah, that's really helpful for sure.
Is that something you studied?
No, it's just something I wanted to study, but for some reason the school I applied to thought, nah, you're good enough to just, you know what, it's fine, dude, bye. And that stuck. So that's why I'm not in school
Mm,
now, because they said no.
mm.
So now I do a lot of game dev stuff. Yeah,
Cool. So
and I'm
what's
actually
your
happy
yeah, go
with
ahead.
that.
You're happy with that?
Yeah, now that they said no, because it was focused on editing, that's study, and now that I got declined, I got so much more time to do other things, and I realized I don't think I want to be doing that for the rest of my life. I want to create. I am obsessed with creating. So
Yeah.
not just the editing of a short film or a full film, a feature film. Just want to create stuff.
Yeah, I think that's what drives a lot of indie devs, right? Indie devs are just like creative people that want to express themselves creatively, but and use this medium. But you often find them doing other things, right?
Yeah,
Kind of like YouTube. Like YouTube by itself is just a creative platform that you're doing things and trying to be unique, and then you're also just trying to demonstrate that it's your game that's also a part of the creative process. But you find people doing indie devs like want to be Manisha. Do you know Manisha? Manisha,
yeah.
come on the show. Uh, she watched. I know she watches my videos sometimes, but one of her videos is making. It was like a Halloween Arduino kind of. I mean, we're all nerds.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We all love technical things, and we all love to be taking our technical skills and applying them somewhere else. So it's not surprising to me that you're also talking about VFX and filmmaking. For me, it's like animation. I really want to get into animation.
Really?
Yeah, I would love. I haven't really. I've done some Blender stuff, but I haven't done. I haven't really pursued it yet, just because I just have no time. Because it's between YouTube and making this other game. And then other things that I have to do, like
Right.
my
Responsibility.
responsibilities and a full time job, and
Yeah.
people in my life. It's just like there's no time for it. But that's definitely something down the road that I'd like to get into.
Yeah. I can recommend, just if you have something that you really want to try, like animation in your case, if you somehow find a spot somewhere that you can at least look into it.
Yeah,
And now it's usually, once you find the time to do it, you can't stop, and that's great.
yeah.
It's the beauty.
So do you play a lot of video games?
Um, because I do a lot of projects and not just game dev, but other things. I'm not playing as many games as I would like to, unfortunately. But every now and then, I say no to everything, and I just focus on a game for a little bit. Yeah.
What kind of video games do you like to play?
When I really don't know what to play, I have three games that I always know that I can find some fun in, which are Minecraft. Always Minecraft. Minecraft is great, and I really like. Please, gamers, don't kill me. I like FIFA and Formula One games a lot.
Mm.
I've been playing those for years and years, but I play a lot of indie games, and I mean, I had this long time that I played pretty much any game that would come out, because, that looks like a good 3 hours of fun. Let's play that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you, like, for playing like these big AAA games, or I mean, FIFA and just sports games in general. Like I like 2K. I like basketball in general, but 2K is a fun one for me. But yeah, I feel you. Like I spend way more time trying to make games than I
Yeah.
do playing games. And I don't know if that's because I don't have time, or it just or just because, like, I want this creative outlet to be who I am, whereas like the like playing games. I like playing games. I still do play games, but not as much. Not as much as like I'm not like a video game person. I wouldn't say I'm a gamer. You know.
Right? Okay. Yeah. No, I feel like I still am because I've been playing games for so long that I if I get the chance, I'll play something. But yeah, I've played a lot of games over the years. And I feel like now, even with game development, and I heard someone say this at some point as well, it's really important to keep playing games actually when you're making games. You'll learn so much from it, whether it's a mistake someone made that you should try to prevent, or just, this is how they thought of that. How can I use that on my game?
Oh yeah,
I think
big
that's
time.
pretty
Like
important too.
I play way more indie. I mean, now I started like forcing myself to play indie games and actually really liking playing indie games rather than like I never used to play indie. I mean, I used to play games on mini clip back in the day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You might be too young.
How old are you?
I'm 26, so I'm only 4 years older.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but like yeah, mini clip. Uh, what else? Oh, like what is it? AmazingGames.com. I don't know if that's even right. But yeah, like those Flash games
Right.
is like that was like one of my first introduction to games, and that's just like an indie game. That's like the origin of indie games. I feel like, right? Like the
Yeah, no, for sure. We have the Dutch versions of those. Yeah. Good times.
yeah. So I really like those, but now I play a lot more indie games. And it's kind of for what you're saying. Like, I don't want to say I'm playing these games for research purposes because that might be giving myself too much credit. But
Right.
but you
No,
know,
definitely.
I definitely will play these games with a lot more intention now and like be picking up on things. Like Stolen Hearts is the game that, like I mentioned, is the game that I'm working on, and especially one of the characters and like the way that I first started developing the game. The first character that I made was a lot like a game called Towerfall. Have you ever played Towerfall?
I think I have played, as I said, I played a lot of games, so I don't
Yeah.
know. I think
It's
maybe.
so if you played Celeste,
Yes.
yeah. So it has a very similar mechanic. I think Towerfall came before Celeste. And Celeste is like it's a single player game. I love Celeste, and Celeste is very similar, but Celeste is like you have multiple dashes and it's like very complicated. But Towerfall is like one step below in terms of the mechanic, and that's a multiplayer game, and that's like everyone just shooting arrows at each other. It's a ton of fun. Definitely one of maybe my favorite game of all time. Just because just like pure fun factor, and it's also like super simple for anybody to just pick up the controller and play.
Nice.
But yeah, but you know when I play the game, I can't help but like what will happen if he grabs the wall and then he falls off and then he comes back on and he jumps and like I'm trying to test the limits and see how it behaves so that I can replicate it in my own game.
Yeah, I can feel that definitely. uh, of course, Icarus is based on Stardew Valley, and whenever I open Stardew Valley, it's usually like, okay, how does Stardew Valley do this idea that I have? How
Yeah,
does it handle that? And I find myself enjoying the game less because I see it as an example in a way, and I try to force myself to just relax and play the game because that's what the game is made for,
yeah,
just to have fun and relax. But I find myself, this could be interesting for
yeah,
Icarus, or maybe something like this. I probably do this differently,
yeah. Exactly. Like that, all that goes right through my head as well. Like
Yeah,
it's like taking what you see and then seeing how you can apply it in your own way.
it's hard to turn that off for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've been talking for a while. Is there anything else you want to plug or any other topics you want to bring up?
I mean, always check out my YouTube.
Any other social
Always.
media? Yeah.
I got Twitter and Twitch as well. Yep.
You
I'm
stream?
I stream about usually like 2-3 times a week, and sometimes it's game dev, but I've kind of stopped doing that as I enjoy playing games with people more, trying to find new things that people could find interesting. lately it's been a lot of GeoGuessr. I don't know if you've heard of GeoGuessr.
No.
It's basically you're placed on a random spot on Earth, like Google Maps, more like Google Earth, and you need to find out where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of fun. I'm addicted to that game.
Is that like oh yeah, yes, actually no, I have played, I don't know if it was that exact version of it, but I've played, yeah, like I've played that exact game before. That is fun, and I mean,
great.
it's next to impossible in my opinion. Like,
Actually, I feel like I'm starting to get decent at it, but some people are professionals, and it's crazy. They'll look at a rooftop and they're like, "Yep, that's Japan," and maybe Japan isn't a good example, but more like, okay, that's Romania or something, and you're like, what?
yeah, that's crazy.
Why?
I guess you got to be like an architecture nut to be able to understand that, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks for being on the show. Go subscribe to TheShelfman. Go follow him on Twitter and go watch his streams. All right. Thanks for being on. This was a really great conversation. I've been happy with the conversations I've been having on this on this podcast. So this is another affirmation that I feel like I'm having good conversations here.
I'm glad. I had a good time. It's a nice and smooth talk. Even for me, I stumble over my words a lot. So it was
You
a lot
know,
of, yeah.
Tauheed was saying the same thing, but I'm the one that stumbled. Now I was stumbling in that video, and I'm gonna be the one stumbling in this video as well. I think everyone else.
Very nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll end it there. All right. Thanks a lot.